Hello, my name's Alex, and I'm here just trying to document my gardening experience and what I've done so far the past few years and to keep track as I try to grow this garden every year. So this will be year 3 of trying to garden. The first year, I only had these 3 pots, and we tried growing strawberries, tomatoes, and lettuce. The strawberries and tomatoes actually did really well in these pots. My only complaint was having, hey Rami,
Yeah?
you want to join the video? Nope, don't want that ball. Sorry. So, the only complaint I had about the tomatoes were I put 2 in one pot and I should have just stuck with 1. The lettuce, because of the time of year, it just instantly went to seed and we didn't really get anything from it. So, I'm just gonna wait another year or 2 before I start trying to do lettuce again. The second year, we bought one of the garden beds that are behind me. It's a galvanized steel. And we transplanted the strawberries from the pot into there. We split it in half and put in each section. However, the strawberries that year did not do well at all. I think we got less than 5 strawberries really out of it, and I think we only got to eat 2 before the birds and wildlife got to it. And typically strawberries are one of those that you want to replant every, I think about 4 or 5 years, because they start producing smaller fruit. So during last year I did notice that there was a lot of shoots that went out everywhere, and they actually left that garden bed and went into the grass in front and around it. This year the strawberries are flowering really well. So I think for all intents and purposes, I'm just going to count this as year 2 just because of how many shoots came out of it and how many more strawberry plants there are. This is the strawberry garden bed. It's hard to see, but with the flowers and all the buds coming in, there's probably about a little less than 100 either flowers or already strawberries forming. Last year we grew both tomatoes and cherry tomatoes. And we used cat litter containers, the boxes that are a few gallon containers. They didn't do too well. I think the hardest challenge for last year was watering. So the cat containers have a few sections that are humped up a little bit, and I drilled some holes there, so it only could have like about a quarter of an inch of water at the bottom. And I want it to be able to drain for when it storms and rains, but it didn't really have a lot of water retention, and it was just drying out in the middle of summer way too fast, which caused a lot of issues for those tomato plants. So although they had a lot of tomatoes, especially cherry tomatoes, they were producing a lot, but the bigger tomatoes, they had a lot of issues and just starting to rot kind of at the bottom. So I'm gonna stick to the garden beds for tomatoes and stick to smaller fruit and vegetables for the cat litter containers. This year for the cat containers, I think I want to try something a little bit different. I was looking into the IBC wicking beds. I don't think I want to take that step yet, but essentially there's big 275 gallon containers. I've seen people cut them in half and make 2 garden beds in which can retain a lot of water, so you don't have to water it every day but once a week. So I just kind of want to miniaturize that and just see how that goes with the cat containers and see how well they do. You know, have a layer of gravel, PVC piping so the water can go down from the hose, and then weed suppression mat that goes into it and have holes a little bit higher up. And then put compost, dirt, and topsoil on top, just to see if I can get some better results. Also, my one mistake for last year, I thought the cherry tomatoes I had didn't need to be in cages, and what happened was they grew really well, but from the weight of the tomatoes, the cherry tomatoes, they just opened up and just fell against the ground and had a lot of splitting in the roots up top. And at first I thought they may have been diseased, but I noticed that the tomato plant was just sending out roots trying to replant itself to get nutrition. And due to all those issues, not being watered, having regular water sources from drying out, the cherry tomatoes didn't really taste that well that year. Some of them were good, but I did have some issues. So I'm not growing any cherry tomatoes this year, but I do plan to revisit them again because they're really amazing at growing. Like, I was harvesting more than I could ever think about eating. And some of them we tried using to make sauces because we want to get into canning with some of our items that we're growing. So, didn't quite get enough successes to actually want to start canning, so maybe this year with the tomato plants. So this year I got a second garden bed in which I'm going to be growing tomatoes, a heirloom tomato, and I'm going to see how well that goes. Last year with these pots, all three of them we grew green beans. They were a bush variety. So that means that they're not the viney that climb up, but just kind of stay less than a foot from when it emerges from the soil. And those we filled up our freezer with easily. Just our regular fridge and freezer. We filled it up so fast. So green beans, we got more than enough. And they did really well. They tasted good. The only complaint that we have about them was my wife likes to make green bean casserole around the holidays, and they were just a little too crunchy, so we just wanted to try a different variety to see if that changes anything for the next time we make green bean casserole. So this year, again, I said 2 of them are green beans, used a different variety, and then we're actually going to try to grow squash. I planted a few seeds, and already everything's starting to germinate. These are the pots that the green beans are growing. They're already starting to sprout, and hopefully within another 2 months we start being able to harvest them. This is the second pot with green beans growing. As you can see, there's a lot more. They should be about 4 to 6 inches apart, but I kind of just put a bunch of seeds in to see what grows. And they seem like they're starting out really well. Might put in another 1 or 2 in the barren areas. And here are the squash. Looks like they just came out. So need to put more soil in this pot, but once they get a little bit bigger and not going to be covered in it, we'll see how they do. Typically, I've heard the rule of thumb is for the northeastern area to wait till after Mother's Day because of the fear that frost can still happen, and that can damage a lot of plants. I remember the first year that we started gardening with those tomatoes, strawberries, and lettuce. We left them outside and the frost happened and killed about half of them. Although we got like either 4 or 6 packs, so we only needed about 1 of each. Well, the strawberries, that hurt it a little. But the tomatoes, we used 2 of them. And the lettuce, like I said, it didn't matter. It went instantly to seed and we didn't get anything from it. So, trying something new with the squash. This year we're also going to try to grow broccoli and basil. So basil comes in, I believe it should be nice and bushy over time, so you just keep harvesting from the top and let it keep growing. So I just wanted to see how it is to have fresh basil and tomatoes and try to make some home sauces during the summer. So the garden beds that we got last year with the strawberries, we actually also planted asparagus. And asparagus is one of those that comes back every year, and they get a little bit thicker over time. Typically, you're not going to harvest at all during the first year, but after that, you get a little bit that you can harvest during the second, and then a little more consistent after that. So I kind of want to expand the asparagus because me and my wife really do enjoy the asparagus, and my father-in-law, he actually gets asparagus that have been around, I think, for almost 40 years, and they're nice and thick, almost like a thumb. So that's the goal. Also this year, we planted 2 peach trees. I think they're the clingstone variety. I tried getting ones that don't grow too ridiculous, but still between 12 and 18 feet. Here is peach tree number 1. So let's see how this one and peach tree number 2 does over the next few months. I figured, hey, buy 1 or 2 peach trees. If they don't make it, I'll try again next year. Do something different. This is just light research, try things, and see what works. Cat containers, need to do a little bit more with. These pots did really well. Garden beds so far, we've been loving them. So again, every year I just want to add something else to the yard to add to the garden. Next, I would like to get a little bit taller above ground garden beds and just kind of expand this area about, I don't know, up to 40 feet, 20 feet past the house. I want to have enough room for the dog to run, so we don't want to do too much to be too crazy, but over time I would like to add to the garden just so we can grow more and be a little more self-sufficient. Well, again, thank you for watching. This was just kind of for myself, just to see my gardening journey, where I'm at and where I'm going, and hopefully I can keep up with this and see how everything's progressed and how I'm doing. So future me, good luck.